Raquel was on Bethenny's podcast, her first interview since the scandal broke.
Yep.
And now I'm not very much on board with calling her Rachel, because it doesn't feel natural to me because we've been calling her Raquel for so long.
Right.
And I genuinely did not think it was so funny when people were like, okay, Rachel. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
low brow insult.
Yeah.
Not really like, all right, what are you doing here? But now she's taking back the name Rachel for herself. I find it to be very confusing. It just feels natural to call her Raquel. That's what we've called her. Now, she went on Bethenny Frankel's podcast, where Bethenny Frankel is leading this campaign in reality TV that it's bad for you, it's bad for people, everything's contrived, blah, 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 and people are manipulated, while Bethenny is using Raquel for clicks for her podcast, which anybody would do, right?
Yeah.
If we had the chance to sit down with Raquel, would we do it? Yes.
But we're not riding on the message of like reality reckoning and Bravo's exploiting their stars.
Yeah. And she was exploiting Raquel on this podcast. But I still would, anybody would take the interview.
No.
But Bethenny's a hypocrite.
Absolutely. I just find Bethenny being the one to do this hypocritical in that sense. Also, I get why, it's like we're reliving the whole Howie Mandel thing over again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like Sandoval did that knowing it was going to be a softball. Her team set this up because they know Bethenny was going to take it easy on her, and not that anybody needs to be going at her at this point in time. But I think that there is an in-between zone, and I will say from listening to her, it did feel like she has done a lot of work on herself, for sure. She seemed a lot more confident in the things that she was saying. Mm-hmm. I did feel like there was definitely some excuses still flying around. Obviously, those are her truths and whatever she wants to say, but I just felt that Bethenny really gave her every opportunity to be like, oh, well, that wasn't really how that happened, and you weren't really friends with her, right? So who really cares? And just for her for Raquel to be like, yeah, you're right, like, kind of not that there needed to be like pushback or anything like that, but I felt like she could have had this conversation with maybe like more of a mental health podcast, or I don't know, something where she could talk about her headspace and her actions and how she's learned from them and how she's growing from it without necessarily this heavy Bethenny reality TV is so evil, because Bethenny has now been profiting off of speaking about reality TV so much. I saw, people were commenting and Kyle from Summer House commented too, that like, he's like, I've never heard so many ads in a podcast. Like she had so many, like a ton of ads playing in her episode. She's making money off of this, of course, as anybody would, but she has also been digging very deep into like Bravo is exploiting their reality stars and they're not making money and they're not making enough money, and reality stars should also be going on strike, while also she profits off of these shows. She does episodes talking about these episodes. She started a whole Housewives rewatch podcast. Right. So now, it's like she's making money off of the shows on Bravo. Right. I don't know. It's just like everything Bethenny's been doing has been irritating me.
Now, I think that this sort of conversation with Raquel is a conversation that needed to be handled with care.
Absolutely.
And I felt like she maybe had gone a little backwards in this conversation, because like you said, it sounded like she had worked on herself. She even said she was thankful that her family, was able to extend the stay from 60 to 90 days. After 60 days, she did not feel like she was ready to leave. She realized a lot of things about why she was acting the way she was acting, why she was looking for men who are unavailable. She has intimacy problems. She didn't work through her past relationship. And there were reasons why she was doing these bad things. And now when you have this conversation with Bethenny, you hear Bethenny going, I was watching and I just didn't see what was so bad about people who take place drinking in a bar. What's so bad? It's about affairs. cares? And it's like, all right, now you are feeding Raquel with something new that she probably was not hearing in this facility while working on herself. The people in the facility were not saying to Raquel, who cares? You were in a bar drinking as your TV show where it's all about affairs. It's totally fine with you. You know, who cares about this? That's not what she was hearing. She was hearing things to help herself. And I feel like this sort of conversation is something that would make Raquel regress back into thinking, you know what? Maybe you are right, Bethenny. What did I do exactly wrong? You know? So I just felt like this sort of conversation with Raquel is something that needed to be handled with care, and I felt like it was handled with somebody who is just trying to profit off of bashing things that are happening on reality TV and not actually caring about what is happening. She's never seen Vanderpump Rules. She didn't know anything about the dynamics.
Like, I don't know anything about this show. I don't know anything about it.
Is like Raquel's like, you know, we weren't, which to an extent, do I believe that maybe Raquel and Ariana were show friends and maybe not the best of friends off screen? Yes, but also at the same time, she sat in the room with us and told us she knows who her real friends are, and Ariana is one of them. And so, yeah, you could be playing that up for the reality show aspect. There's different layers to it. I just felt like this was not the place for Raquel to do this interview, although, of course, her team would think so because Bethenny's never seen it, so how is she supposed to ask her the right questions?
Totally.
She's just going at it from a reality TV is bad. And yes, there are points of reality TV that are not good for somebody who's on reality TV, but I think, you know, Raquel has realized it's not the place for her at this point going forward.
Yeah, she's not going back.
And it's been reported that she made about $350,000 last season. And she said that she's severely underpaid. She gets paid as much as Bethenny's interns, which I guess Bethenny's interns make a lot of money because that's a ton of money. So
it's a shit ton of money.
I guess Bethenny pays really well, unless she gave different numbers. I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's why I felt like these were two separate conversations happening in one episode, if that makes sense. Like in one conversation. I felt like Bethenny's conversation about reality TV and Bravo, if they want to have that money conversation and they're not being paid enough, or, you know, they're you know, Raquel talking about being in debt, like things like that I think is a separate conversation than what happened with Raquel and how she has handled that and grown from that and moving on from that. Like, combining the two things is where I think Raquel's team could have led her in a better direction of going on a different show.
I totally agree.
I find that this wasn't the conversation that we needed to have, of her now basically being like, I did something terrible and Bravo is laughing to the bank about it and I don't see that money. It's like, okay, we can discuss that, but let's not have all of that happen in the same time as this is the first interview I'm doing since this happened.
Right. I think there could have been a separate conversation, like you said, a different podcast where it really focuses on mental health or something in that capacity, where Raquel could dive deep into what she's learned at this facility. And I think people could relate to it. And I think people could learn from it. And I think although she made a terrible, terrible, terrible mistake, I think people can sympathize with the fact that nobody needs to be like going after her life anymore. I think that she's like gotten that already. I think people are human, and I think they could recognize that. But then when you start throwing in the excuses and you start throwing in the, well, I'm not getting paid for what I did, you're right. It's a different conversation. I think her PR probably could have handled it
I just think this was personally like a good, like, I don't really have any more bashing to do on Raquel. I think that's fine. I think everybody at this point should move on from it and she can go do whatever she wants to do. But the choice of doing this with Bethenny, bizarre to me.
Especially when Bethenny is leaving a bad taste in people's mouths lately. Yeah. That I think maybe her people were not aware of. Yeah. That I think that's like just like a double whammy. Because people are just seeing through Bethenny.
And I don't know. I would love to really hear more of the reasoning on it, right? And they were like, oh, because, you know, you were one of the only people who were defending her. Well, Bethenny never watched the show. She had no idea. She jumped in right at the end. And I think
it's easy to defend somebody when you've never seen the show before.
Yeah, and it's like exactly the Howie Mandel thing. But I think it's just like enough time has passed also where anybody who really followed closely with the show and what happened would have some grace with her coming on their show. Like, I don't think she would sit in an interview and be absolutely just
Attacked.
destroyed.
Yeah.
I know we wouldn't conduct it that way. So it's like, I just feel like that's how it didn't have to be Bethenny's show.
Yeah, you can have a serious conversation with somebody about something they did wrong without going after them.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So
yeah, it was kind of just a weird choice. And honestly, like, there wasn't too much of what she was saying that threw me for a loop or anything. Like, there wasn't any big revelations.
she did say
I
that
felt.
she does not believe that her and Sandoval were in love anymore.
Yeah.
She doesn't think she was in love with him.
Yeah.
She doesn't think that he was in love with her. I thought that was
I think that makes sense. A lot of sense.
makes sense, and I think that proves that they are not together and won't be together. You know, I think being off the shows is best case scenario.
There was a couple interesting things about Tom that she did say, that apparently he got offered a producer credit for season 11. The show was going to be canceled after season 10 if Scandival didn't happen. And about the Tom filming her thing, she said that she confronted him on camera and he got mad and then asked her, like, why would you bring that up on camera? And he boycotted filming unless they took that out.
Yeah.
So he is just
Such a, oh my God.
I
And he's the one.
I
he's
hold
the one,
so much more contempt
Right. He's the one
for
filming
him.
again, going back to
Yeah.
the show. And, you know, it's just, And then, so did you see that Ariana's best friend put on his story, like, true life, none of us saw the video?
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to lie and say you didn't see the video.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what the truth is to that one.
Yeah.
In a moment of anger, did Ariana send the video to her around? You know what I mean? You don't know, and I don't think we should speculate either. I think
I don't think
if,
so either.
You know, she went through something like that is not good. So
Yep.
that part I don't think we should speculate on.
Right.
But
So
it
it
is
does seem
interesting
like
to hear
she's-
that Sandoval wanted to cut all that out of.
Yeah. It does seem like, and also, boy, do I not like him getting a producer credit.
What? Crazy.
He should have no fucking decisions on how this show's made. Anyway.
But in his eyes, he's like, look, I got us season 11.
Like, what? Now we have to watch season 11 with the mindset that things are moving around for him. But I think, like, if this is it for her in reality, maybe not reality TV as a whole, but like Vanderpump Rules done, it's probably for the best.
Yeah, I agree.